There is a universal truth about love that few people are willing to admit. The people who break our hearts rarely look like villains. They smile, they hold our hands, they remember our favorite songs. And sometimes the most dangerous deception doesn't hide behind anger, it hides behind affection. Because the perfect mask is never made of cruelty, it's made of charm. And tonight, on Human Secrets Hub, I want to tell you a story about a woman who learned that lesson far too late. Her name was Alina, and this is the story of the smile she trusted. The story began in a rainy city where the streets glowed beneath golden streetlights, and every evening felt like a scene from a romantic movie. Alina worked as an interior designer in a quiet architecture firm downtown. She was intelligent, ambitious, and careful with her heart. She wasn't the type to fall in love quickly. Then she met Ryan. Ryan was everything people dream about when they imagine a soulmate. He was confident without being arrogant, attentive without being controlling, charming without appearing fake. At least, that's what everyone believed. They met at a charity gala hosted in an elegant hotel overlooking the river. The moment their eyes met, something felt different. Or at least that's what Alina thought. Within days, Ryan seemed to know everything about her. He remembered tiny details from conversations, her favorite coffee, her childhood dream, the songs she listened to whenever she felt lonely. He made her feel seen, special, chosen. Psychologists call this phenomenon love bombing. It happens when someone overwhelms another person with affection, attention, compliments, and emotional intensity. To the victim, it feels like destiny. To the manipulator, it can be a shortcut to trust. But Alina didn't know that. All she knew was that she had never felt this loved before. Every morning began with a message. Every night ended with a phone call. Flowers appeared at her office. Handwritten notes waited in her handbag. He called her his future, his miracle, his missing piece. Friends envied them. Coworkers admired them. Even strangers noticed how happy they looked together. And whenever Ryan smiled at her, Alina felt completely safe. That smile became her home. Months passed. The relationship moved quickly. Weekend trips, family introductions, future plans. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect. But perfection has a strange way of hiding cracks. The first crack appeared so quietly that nobody noticed, not even Alina. One evening, while they were having dinner in their favorite riverside restaurant, Ryan's phone lit up on the table. A message appeared. For less than a second, just a name. Nothing more. Then Ryan flipped the phone face down. Then he smiled. The same warm smile she loved. The same smile that made her feel secure. Yet for the first time, something felt different. A strange feeling settled deep inside her chest. Not evidence, not proof, just intuition. That small voice many people ignore. The voice that whispers before the truth arrives. Alina pushed the feeling away, because love teaches us to trust, sometimes even when our instincts are begging us not to. She had no idea that behind Ryan's perfect smile was a secret life waiting to be uncovered, and the first clues would not come from his words, they would come from his body language. Because the body often reveals what the mouth desperately tries to hide. And soon, Alina would learn that lesson in the most painful way possible. If you've ever felt that gut feeling that something wasn't right, you aren't alone. Subscribe to Human Secrets Hub so you never miss a sign. Like this video and comment "truth" to unlock the next part of this story. Sometimes betrayal does not arrive like a thunderstorm. Sometimes it arrives like a whisper, a delayed reply, a strange silence, a smile that suddenly feels rehearsed. And for Alina, the whispers were beginning to grow louder. The weeks after that dinner felt different. Not dramatically different, just enough to make her question herself. Ryan still called, he still sent messages, he still told her he loved her, but something invisible had changed. His warmth seemed calculated, his affection seemed timed, and the man who once shared everything now seemed to be protecting something. At first, Alina blamed herself. Maybe she was overthinking. Maybe stress from work was making her paranoid. Maybe the problem wasn't Ryan. Maybe the problem was her. This is where many people become trapped, because when love is involved, the human brain often searches for excuses before it searches for truth. One rainy evening, Alina noticed the first undeniable sign. Ryan had invited her to dinner at his apartment. Everything seemed normal, until she casually asked a simple question. "Who called you this afternoon?" The change lasted less than a second, but it was there, a flash across his face, a tiny expression of fear. Then it disappeared. Most people would have missed it. Alina almost did. But psychologists call this a micro-expression. A micro-expression is a brief emotional leak that appears before a person regains control of their face. It can last less than half a second. The mouth lies, the voice lies, but emotions often escape through the face before the brain can stop them. Ryan immediately smiled afterward. Just a client. His answer sounded perfect, yet that brief flash of panic remained burned into Alina's memory. The second sign appeared days later. They were walking through a crowded shopping district when Alina mentioned the mysterious caller again. Something unusual happened. Ryan suddenly rubbed his eyes and looked away. Then he focused on a store window instead of her face. To most people, this behavior seems meaningless, but body language experts call it eye-blocking behavior. Eye-blocking happens when someone instinctively tries to avoid visual contact with information that creates stress or discomfort. The brain wants to block out the threat. People may blink excessively, cover their eyes, look away, or suddenly become fascinated by anything except the person asking questions. As soon as Alina changed the subject, Ryan relaxed. His eye contact returned, his smile returned, and once again, the warning sign vanished. But Alina had started paying attention, and attention changes everything. A week later came the third sign, the sign that finally made her stomach drop. The two were attending a friend's engagement party in an elegant ballroom. Music filled the room, people laughed, champagne glasses clinked together. Everything appeared normal, until Ryan received another message. His phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen, and immediately his hand moved to the side of his neck. He rubbed it repeatedly, once, twice, 3 times. Alina watched carefully. The behavior continued while he typed a reply. Psychologists refer to this as the hand-to-neck touch. When people feel anxiety, guilt, fear, or internal pressure, they often touch vulnerable areas of the body. The neck is one of the most common. The gesture acts as a subconscious self-soothing mechanism. The body is attempting to calm itself during emotional discomfort. What frightened Alina wasn't the gesture itself, it was the timing. Every strange message produced the same reaction. Every uncomfortable question produced the same reaction. Every mention of his schedule produced the same reaction. The pattern was impossible to ignore. That night, lying awake in bed, Alina replayed every moment in her mind. The micro-expression, the eye-blocking, the hand-to-neck touch. 3 separate signals, 3 separate warnings, 3 cracks in the mirror. And for the first time, she allowed herself to ask the question she had been avoiding. What if the man she loved wasn't the man she thought he was? Outside her apartment window, rain tapped softly against the glass. Inside, her intuition was screaming because the body had already revealed the truth. The only problem was that Alina still didn't know how devastating that truth would be, and very soon,
the mask Ryan had worn for so long was about to shatter completely.
There comes a moment in every story of deception when suspicion and reality finally collide. A moment when the heart desperately wants to believe one thing, but the evidence refuses to cooperate. For Alina, that moment arrived on a cold Friday evening. The truth had been circling around her for weeks. The strange messages, the nervous body language, the unexplained absences, the smile that no longer felt genuine. Yet a part of her still clung to hope, because hope is powerful, sometimes more powerful than logic itself. That evening, Ryan told her he was attending an important business meeting across the city. Nothing unusual, at least that's what he claimed, but something inside Alina refused to stay silent. The same intuition that had warned her months earlier was now screaming. So for the first time in their relationship, she decided to verify instead of trust. Hours later, while driving home from a client presentation, she passed a luxury restaurant near the river. And that's when she saw him. Ryan. Not in a business meeting, not with clients, not alone. He was sitting by the window with another woman, laughing, holding her hand, looking at her the same way he once looked at Alina. In that instant, time seemed to stop. The world became silent. Her chest tightened, her hands trembled against the steering wheel. The betrayal she had feared was suddenly real. Not a suspicion, not a theory, a fact. The man who had called her his soulmate was living a double life. But what happened next reveals something fascinating about human psychology. Even after seeing the truth with her own eyes, Alina's mind searched for alternative explanations. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe she was a relative. Maybe there was another explanation. This reaction is called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance occurs when two conflicting beliefs exist at the same time. One belief said, Ryan loves me. The other said, Ryan is betraying me. The brain hates conflict, so instead of immediately accepting the painful truth, it often tries to reduce the discomfort by creating excuses. That is why many people stay in toxic relationships longer than they should. Not because they're weak, because their minds are trying to protect them from emotional shock. But reality doesn't disappear simply because we resist it. The next day, Alina confronted him. She arrived at his apartment carrying only one thing: the truth. Ryan opened the door. For a moment, he looked surprised. Then he smiled. That familiar smile. The same smile that had fooled her for so long. "What's wrong?" he asked calmly. Alina stared directly into his eyes. "I saw you." The smile froze. Only for a second. Then came the manipulation, the denial, the performance. And this is where another dangerous psychological weapon appeared: gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where a person attempts to make someone question their own perception of reality. Instead of admitting guilt, the manipulator attacks the victim's confidence in what they saw, heard, or experienced. Ryan crossed his arms. "You must be mistaken." Alina remained silent. "I think stress is affecting you." Silence. "You've been imagining things lately." Silence. "You don't trust me." There it was, the strategy. Not truth, not accountability, confusion. The goal of gaslighting is simple: make the victim doubt themselves more than they doubt the liar. And for a brief moment, it almost worked. Years of trust don't disappear in seconds. Years of love don't vanish overnight. Part of Alina wanted to believe him. Part of her wanted the nightmare to end. But then she remembered the body language,
the micro expressions, the eye blocking, the hand to neck touch. The signs had been speaking long before his words were exposed. Finally, she asked one question. Who is she? This time, there was no explanation, no excuse, no performance, only silence. And sometimes, silence is the loudest confession of all. The mask had shattered. The soulmate was an illusion. The perfect love story was built on lies. As tears filled her eyes, Alina realized something painful. The greatest betrayal wasn't that Ryan had chosen someone else. The greatest betrayal was that he spent months convincing her to ignore her own instincts. And now, standing among the ruins of a relationship she once believed would last forever, she faced a choice: remain broken by the deception or rebuild herself into someone stronger than the woman who had first fallen for that smile. 6 months later, she would make that choice, and it would change everything.
6 months later, the rain still fell across the city. The same streets still glowed beneath the evening lights. The same river flowed quietly through the heart of downtown. But Alina was no longer the same woman. The version of her that had once waited anxiously for messages, the version that ignored her intuition, the version that believed love required self-sacrifice at any cost, was gone. When betrayal first happened, the pain felt unbearable. Every memory became a weapon. Every photograph became evidence. Every song became a reminder of what she had lost. For weeks, she replayed everything in her mind. The first date, the first kiss, the promises, the lies, the deception, again and again. Many people believe heartbreak happens because someone else breaks us, but psychology reveals something deeper. The real battle begins after the betrayal, because the mind develops patterns, blueprints, internal beliefs about love, trust, self-worth, and relationships. And if those blueprints remain unchanged, people often repeat the same painful cycles with different faces. Alina understood this, so instead of chasing closure from Ryan, she decided to rebuild herself. She began studying psychology, not to understand him, to understand herself. That decision changed everything. One concept became her obsession: subconscious reprogramming. Subconscious reprogramming is the process of replacing old mental beliefs with healthier, more empowering ones. Think of the subconscious mind as a hidden operating system. Most people never question the programs running inside it. If someone secretly believes, "I must earn love," they often tolerate mistreatment. If someone believes, "I am not enough," they may ignore red flags to avoid being abandoned. If someone believes, "I can't survive alone," they may stay trapped in unhealthy relationships. The subconscious always tries to prove its beliefs correct, even when those beliefs cause pain. Alina realized she had spent years carrying an invisible program. If I love someone enough, they will never hurt me. The betrayal destroyed that illusion, and strangely, that became her freedom. Every morning, she started a new routine. She wrote down empowering beliefs. I trust my intuition. My value does not depend on another person's approval. I deserve honesty. I deserve respect. I listen when my instincts speak. At first, the words felt unnatural, almost fake, but repetition is powerful. Neuroscience shows that repeated thoughts strengthen neural pathways in the brain. Over time, new beliefs become familiar, and familiar beliefs become identity. Week after week, month after month, Alina changed the story she told herself. She exercised, learned new skills, expanded her business, traveled alone, met new people.
Most importantly, she stopped viewing herself as a victim, because victims focus on what was taken, survivors focus on what was learned. One evening, while walking along the same riverside where she and Ryan once spent countless nights together, she saw something surprising. Him, standing across the street. For a brief moment, their eyes met. The old Alina would have felt anger, sadness, longing. The new Alina felt something entirely different. Peace. Because healing doesn't mean forgetting. Healing means remembering without bleeding. Ryan smiled, the same smile that once controlled her emotions, the same smile that once convinced her to doubt herself. But now she could see it clearly. A smile is not character. Charm is not honesty. Attention is not loyalty. And words mean nothing when actions tell a different story. Without saying a single word, she turned and continued walking. Forward. That was the moment she truly became free. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of this story. The people who deceive us can steal our time. They can steal our trust. They can even steal pieces of our heart. But they cannot define our future unless we allow them to. Your intuition is not your enemy. Your instincts are not weakness. Your ability to walk away from what harms you is a superpower. So if someone's words and body language don't match, pay attention, because the truth often whispers before it screams. And remember this, the strongest people are not those who never get betrayed. The strongest people are those who transform betrayal into wisdom. Thank you for joining me on Human Secrets Hub. Until next time, trust your instincts, protect your peace, and never underestimate the power of seeing people for who they truly are, not who you hope they will become.